Thank you, guys. Well, I'll go ahead and get started. Yeah, thank you for having us for their July meeting. UVA Sustainability is glad to be invited back to do these seasonal or periodic updates. We're just excited that you guys are interested in what's going on. My name's Dana Schroeder. I've seen a number of you for years in Cville100, so glad to be back. I am going to be presenting tonight. I'm one of our outreach and engagement managers. And so I do a lot of our outreach and engagement stuff. I'm really involved in our waste reduction work. I have invited a guest who hopefully some of you have met. And Andrea was able to join. She's our director of sustainability. Andrea, in case people don't know you, do you want to unmute and say a few words about who you are?
Thanks. Good to see you all again. It's been a little bit since I joined you all to talk about UVA sustainability, but really happy to be here and grateful that you all are interested in hearing what we're up to. But Dana will take the lead in a presentation, and then I'll chime in with some maybe additional details or help answer questions as we go.
I know you guys are particularly interested in, climate work, and I'm not an emissions expert or an energy expert, and so Andrea might chime in a little bit, but I'll get us started. We are ready to go as long as I know where my mouse is. Perfect. Can everybody see this? Slides are advancing. Excellent. Well, we start off with, ways to connect and get involved. We have a couple of events coming up. Really, summer's a lot quieter, so not a ton happening at the moment, but we are excited about our Lunch and Learn that's coming up on July 30th. Any of you would be welcome to attend. We'll send these slides out, and there's a link where it's underlined there. One of our colleagues, Shannon, is hosting a Lunch and Learn on cutting costs on your home energy bills. This is a partnership with the Energy Resource Hub, which I wouldn't be surprised if a number of you were already very connected with this. But if you'd like to spread the word about this, it'd be a big help, and feel free to join yourself. It's in our Skipwith Hall. It's home of the Sustainability Office at UVA, so it'd be great to see you. We also have our garden work days nearby if you're itching to get out in the heat and the rain. But we have a student garden that really anybody's welcome to engage with, and we'd love to show you around. All right, and as a reminder, we're zooming out to what is UVA sustainability?
Dana, where is the garden, the student garden?
Yeah, we have a student garden that's at the corner of Alderman and McCormick Roads, and that's near our office. It's a small garden, but small but mighty. Nice place.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah,
just in front of, is it just in front of the astronomy?
Yeah.
Building? Yeah.
Yeah, come. You can check it out anytime. We don't even have to be there. You can go pick to your heart's content. Got lots of flowers right now. All right, so those are some good upcoming engagement things, but as a reminder, these are some of the goals that UVA Sustainability is working on. We have goals that really focus on the stewardship of our resources. These green goals kind of relate to our operations. We've got blue goals related to engagement, getting people involved, helping humans. Right. And then orange goals are really related to the academic mission of the university. We want to be a leader in sustainability related research. We want to be, every student, no matter what their major, we want them to be able to take sustainability related classes. And we're working on grounds engaged learning too. So this opportunity for students to not just learn at UVA, but apply what they're learning to our campus. And with respect to all these goals, we do a big annual report each kind of late summer, early fall. So it's not quite ready, but some of this content is going to be featured in our annual report, and we'll try to share that out with you guys once it is complete if you want the full details. We've got some exciting updates on UVA health and sustainable healthcare, so happy to talk more about that in particular if you're interested. All right, so we kick it off in this area of emissions reduction, where we are aiming to be carbon neutral by 2030 and fully fossil fuel free in our operations by 2050. This chart is showing progress from our baseline year, which is 2010. And so far, we've achieved a almost 45% reduction in our carbon emissions. Woo! Very exciting. We're really proud of that. Still a lot left to do, right? But though some of our biggest, strategies or kind of areas of focus are making updates to our district energy system. So for our like heating, for example, we generate steam or medium temperature hot water or low temperature hot water. We sort of heat water centrally. and then send it out to different districts to heat and cool our buildings. So district energy system can be optimized in a number of ways. We've got renewable energy strategies, rooftop solar, utility scale solar. Not really going to be talking about that today. Not a lot has changed like this season with respect to that. We do a ton of upgrades to existing buildings. UVA has a lot of old, older, challenging buildings in terms of energy efficiency, but that's really the bread and butter of our sustainability office. So happy to share more about their work. We have higher standards for new buildings to make sure that our facilities that are brand new or recently renovated are top-notch and operating as efficiently as possible. And then there's a ton of movement and interest right now around electrification of vehicles, particularly vehicles that are owned by the university. We've got great champions in a number of different departments helping make cool things happen. So we'll talk about that a bit too. Okay, so some examples of our, district energy type improvements. We're very excited that the Fontaine Central Utility Plant is nearly complete. There's a link to an article about this, but it's a state-of-the-art zero combustion energy plant, which is really exciting. It's fossil fuel free, like on site. It's going to employ, it's like mostly a geothermal system. Very cool. And it's using this low temperature hot water distribution instead of steam distribution, which we can get into the details of if you're interested, but basically it takes a lot less energy to generate low temperature hot water and distribute it to the buildings that need heat than if it were to be like a full steam system. So this is a very exciting plant that will be like offering tours and lots of educational resources once it is open. And it's a big project, an expensive project, a big investment, but with some exciting potential for IRA credits. So very exciting there. This is a really big announcement that I imagine we'll get some questions about, but just recently funded at the June Board of Visitors meeting. Was a conversion project for the main heat plant, which would get us off coal, which is huge. So replacing coal, optimizing it for a new fuel mix. We'll still have, this will be a new challenge, right? It's still a fossil fuel system. Right now, the plant operates on a combination of natural gas and coal, and it will be transitioning to operating on a combination of natural gas, electricity, and oil. Coal has always been kind of the backup fuel for if we get curtailed on natural gas. Oil will essentially become the new backup fuel. What's interesting, I would argue cool about this is that all the coal infrastructure is going to be demolished. So these huge coal silos that we hate seeing right near UVA's grounds, that equipment will all be able to be removed. This is a huge investment, but we're really excited about it. It supports the continuity of operations of the medical center, the hospital, which cannot be curtailed and without heat and steam for its sterilization systems and such, like things like that. So it's a challenging need that we're meeting, and this is an exciting next step to get us off coal. So this will be a huge reduction in metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent and a huge savings, $1.5 million a year in annual savings. We can circle back to this. The ongoing kind of building work that I was talking about, we may have presented on this before, but we're super proud. We've got our building efficiency team of energy engineering experts that work in the sustainability office. And over the last 10 years, they've built this amazing rapport with all of the different facilities, departments, and zones across campus, and has built a really strong reputation for being able to get buildings functioning better, saving a ton of money. Over the past decade, this program alone has saved UVA $2.7 million. Oh, no, wait, that's in... The overall savings are huge. So 2.7 million in utility cost savings fiscal year 2025 alone. So that just compounds year over year of this program. They're working on these projects right now. If you have connections to any of those places, very cool to learn about. But the kind of biggest, most exciting thing for us with the building efficiency program is that we're now building the relationships to move this work into clinical spaces, which have such specific needs. In the past, those stakeholders haven't had that much of an appetite to work on efficiency upgrades just because of all the challenges. But now the appetite is there, the trust is there. And that's where some really huge energy savings are going to come from, because hospital and patient care spaces are incredibly energy intensive, right? So being able to get improvements there is a huge kind of like a new chapter in this program's life. And then the last sort of category of efforts that we're going to talk about on the emissions reduction side is transportation solutions. So really exciting updates from the Department of Parking and Transportation, where we now have a fleet of 51 university vehicles. I guess that's parking and transportation, but also like the facilities management department and other departments that may just have a few vehicles for moving people or small materials around. But 51 UVA fleet vehicles, electric or hybrid. More are on order for fall, which is great. And our favorite new vehicles, which I hope you'll see around, the brand name, they're called E-Jest vehicles, but they're basically mini buses that are fully electric. This is the first fully electric buses that we've had at UVA, and they're working great. They're great for summertime and for some kind of like quieter routes. And Parking and Transportation is also working on electrification of their like larger full-size bus fleet as well. But these are proving great so far. We also have a program that's just launched that's going to be huge for getting people out of cars for their personal commutes. So Wahoo Commute is basically a program to pay people to not have parking passes. So if you are a full-on biker, walker, busser, if you give up your, don't have a parking pass, UVA will actively pay you, which is great. So really great incentives there that kind of speak to everybody. And then some exciting new like connectivity things. The Afton Express has been a big success. I don't know if that's particularly new at this point, but opportunities for UVA to like interact with regional transportation solutions is really going to help, because UVA has a lot of commuters that might come from Afton further afield in all directions. And going to be very difficult, but this is the space that I'm moving into and I'm really excited about. There's like still lots of improvements to be made, but to date we have reduced total waste 36, almost 37%. So hopefully we can keep that momentum going. I think this graphic is from our football. We have a lot of like athletics waste reduction initiatives, and this past season of athletic events, we collected 47 tons of waste diverted from the landfill. So that's exciting. I'm gonna glaze over all of this actually, but basically we're working in a number of different ways to reduce waste. One of them is improving our infrastructure and systems. We want to always have bins that are paired up so that you always have the choice to recycle, compost in more and more spaces these days as well. Let's make stations, let's have really good signage and make sure that bins are uniform and consistent so that people can sort of start seeing the behavior at the bins as like automatic. If all the bins are more consistent and the messaging is more consistent, people can really learn and improve. So we're working on that. We're doing a lot of compost expansion, but we're being really strategic with where we do that, because it's really hard to just put compost bins out. You can't expect people to use them, right? So we do it in spaces where we can give them some guidance, like at zero waste events, athletic events. We even have a team of students who can help sort compost bags. If we're trying something in an area where we don't think that it's gonna go perfectly, these students will hand sort compostables, pull out contaminants before we send those to Black Bear composting, and like bless them, because we couldn't do anything without them. There's some specific details here about other bin improvements that we're making, but yeah, suffice it to say, there's like system improvements going on, and then a lot of like long-standing things. Like everybody knows that dining halls are a big generator of waste. They've got pretty solid like back of house composting for their scraps and anything that gets like scraped off of plates that go on the tray return that didn't get eaten. Things like that. The other way that we're addressing waste reduction is through awareness and culture. So doing more just education, outreach. Students are huge. So a lot of these are student initiatives, but we also have our green workplace program, our sustainable labs program, to engage people in specific audiences that have like specific waste streams. We've got some cool new resources. One is that we have I think maybe it was a year ago now. I'll say we re-upped our commitment to eliminating a lot of single-use plastics at UVA. So that's exciting, and we're doing a lot of outreach on how people can identify compostable products instead. Product conversion is huge because we can't divert, we can only save things from the landfill if they're an alternative product. So excited to be moving away from plastics, and we're getting good adoption there across campus. We've got a waste directory that can guide people on what they should recycle versus compost. It's like a QR code so they can search exactly what they're holding and see where it goes. And other kind of resources like that. And then you all may be familiar with some of these resources that end up reaching the community. Like if you've never bought anything from the UVA reuse store, man, you're missing out. Please ask me a question about that and I'll tell you more. I bought a dryer for $15 one time. That's my favorite reuse store purchase. And then Who's Reuse is similar, where we're trying to make sure that we're not just tossing things when students move out from dorms. Let's get those things donated, currently through a really strong partnership with Goodwill. We do the reusable office supply exchange is free office supplies. Please tell anyone you know who's a teacher or who has kids that are school age. You can just go anytime they're open and pick up things for free that were not needed in some area of UVA. And then some new programs around reuse and free, like Reuse Pass is incentivizing people to use reusable, when they get their food to go. You can use a reusable to-go container. And Free Food Alert is also something that could touch you guys as community members. It's a way for when events at UVA have leftover food, we have this partnership with an app where it can blast out notifications to anybody who's signed up and say, hey, there's extra food in Newcomb Hall. And people come running. It's really fun. So if you're often near UVA and you want access to that, I could give you the info there as well. And then I'm going to run out of time to talk about the hospital, unfortunately, but we'll make sure these slides get sent out. Suffice it to say, we're getting just like a lot more engagement with hospital staff and hospital leadership. And people are coming up with really cool pilot initiatives and just like running with them. So there's cool new things around reducing the number of, like when you go do a procedure, they used to bag all of your things in like a big plastic bag. Now they have alternatives to that. They're trying to reprocess devices that can be like sent back to the manufacturer and reused. There's even this pharmacy, I don't know if it's a pilot or if it's full scale, but they've found these like recyclable paper pill bottles so that we can even get off plastics in our pharmacy operations. And this is all, again, like passionate people who are just making things happen. The last thing that I wanted to share is just this, another great example of passionate people making things happen. This year, we recognized a number of people for their contributions through our Sustainability Leadership Awards. And it's, I feel like the best thing to share when it comes to UVA, because it epitomizes this idea that like, yes, the Sustainability Office exists, but we're kind of like a connector and a supporter and a hub of information, but like, so many people in different units are doing the things that are actually making all these improvements. So we're very grateful to them, and you can learn more about them. That title is linked here when I send out when we send out the slides as well. That is all I prepared. Sorry if it was a little over time. Ways to reach us here, but I'll stop sharing and we can talk briefly if there's time.
Yeah.
James, does that?
All right.
Do we
Yeah.
want to
No,
go
that's
to Randy
great.
first?
Yeah, exactly. If Randy still remembers his question, you had your hand up earlier, Randy. Why don't you start us off?
So I'm interested in the building standards issue. Unfortunately, the developers have blocked our legislators for the last several years from adopting the worldwide international building standards to update the Virginia Building Code. Are UVA's building updates compatible with the latest version of the International Building Code? And could perhaps UVA remind our legislators of this and note that it's important?
Yes. Andrea, you're welcome to answer. I can go try to find the link to the green building standards. if you
Yeah,
want.
yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, so I can't answer the question about energy code very clearly, but we have our own university green building standards, which go beyond minimum energy code. So we have energy use intensity targets by building type. So lab building versus housing, which generally tend to be about 30 to 40% better or more aggressive energy wise than the base minimum code. And then we have life cycle cost requirements, energy modeling requirements, as well as a host of other prescriptive requirements that go beyond LEED certification and code. So that's how we get at the energy impact of new construction and major renovations. Those are required for every project.
Cool. Tom, I don't know if it's Tom or Ren. Next question.
Well, I have several. You said that there was a 37% reduction in waste. Does that include the hospital or is that just the?
Yeah, including the hospital.
Yeah, we made our waste goal tough on ourselves. We included the hospital in our waste goal, which is very unusual for a university. Typically, they're separate goals. So the hospital is about 50% of our waste footprint. So when we report any of our numbers, that includes the medical center, not the more distant clinics, but anything on grounds, medical center wise, but about half of our footprint. And it includes regulated medical waste, everything that we can track.
What about the hospital cafeteria? Do you control that or does Morrison's?
Morrison's controls that.
There's so many things they could do in there to improve.
Yeah, definitely. So they are included in our waste goal as well as our sustainable food goal. So we have a 30 sustainable food goal is a 30%.
I'm sorry, I can't.
They are included in our waste goal, Morrison's, the hospital food, as well as our sustainable food purchasing.
And they could have compostable and compostable utensils. They don't have to have plastic lids.
I think
they're cardboard.
I think they might have compostable utensils, so they might not be labeled very well, or maybe we've got some things slipping back in.
They're plastic utensils.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, we can check into that. UVA has a single-use plastics policy, and that applies to anything on ground. So the hospital, anything, any building on ground. So if sometimes there's supply chain issues and there's temporary instances where there's plastic, but there shouldn't be on a long-term basis. So we can.
We've had good relationships there. They're a willing partner, but I know they've had turnover in their leadership. So maybe it's time for us to revisit and help them make sure they're in compliance.
And there's no barrel for food leftovers. There's nothing to put your food.
No. Yeah, the hospital cafeteria is actually unfortunately one of the last places it's going to be a really challenging space just because it's any space that's visitors is it's hard to educate people if they're new people every time. We definitely would love for there to be compost there someday, but we're kind of doing strategic pilots in other locations, building our strengths around composting, and then we'd go to the hospital cafeteria.
And you said they're converting to compostable or whatever bags for patients' belongings.
I can't remember what the transition is. If anybody has seen or noticed,
should be buckets.
Yeah, I want to say it's like a bin. Like a tray, like a bin. Yeah, it's a reusable option.
But it's slowly, it's moving.
For belongings for surgery. If you come in for surgery, they give you a plastic bag to put your belongings in. Is that what you're talking about? Or
yeah, it's not everywhere yet, but
haven't arrived there yet.
Yeah, they're moving. They piloted it, and they're saving a lot of money by doing that. But
their directions are to have the patient bring in a reusable shopping bag so they can take their things home. And then if the person does not bring it in, then they provide a bag.
A plastic bag, right? But most people just don't bring anything. But I understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
We got small steps going. Everything's, kind of building up, but yeah, definitely still the waste piece, especially there's still lots to do.
So
let's Let's
you.
keep going. Bob, you've been patient. Question?
Yes, this is on a larger scale. With the forced resignation of Jim Ryan because of DEI and the strong ideological pressure that the Trump administration is bringing, not just against DEI, but anything related to helping the environment, whether it's global warming or whether it's sustainability or whatever. Have you had any indication that your programs are under threat from the current board of visitors or from anybody else? And second, on the same kind of theme, were you affected by freezing of grants, cutting of funds, and anything else that would be reliant on the federal government for support that was available in the past, but they might be axing it now?
Great question.
Great question, Bob.
We
Yeah.
indicated very important and the top of our mind. I'll answer the second question first. In terms of federal grants, no, we don't have any in our office. UVA sustainability is much broader than our office. There is the Environmental Institute, which does research, there's curriculum, but our office does not have any federal grants. We have half our office is funded by savings, energy savings, the work that Dana mentioned in buildings, and the other half of our office is funded through the utility rate, essentially. So we don't rely on any grants, local or federal, which is good. And then your first question, we have not gotten any direct indication of that. If anything, I would say the board is appreciative of some of the, like, our climate work is very hand in hand with energy savings. So much of the work we do around climate and energy use intensity reductions for new construction save the university money. So even if there's an ideological mismatch in the board, it's hard to argue with millions of dollars in savings when it comes to energy reductions. It's also hard to argue, I think, with student leadership opportunities. So a lot of what our office does is around building leadership opportunities, internship opportunities for students, career development. And a lot of students are interested in waste reduction. So we're also reducing waste, waste minimization and diversion. So a lot of our key components of our office, I think, seem to be okay. So we have not gotten any direct indication. Obviously, there's a lot of challenges and we don't know what will happen more broadly, but yeah, that's where we are.
That's my sense too.
Good.
Yeah. Thank you for asking, Bob. Yeah.
So you're in kind of a safe little hollow there because you save money.
We do save
but
money.
hopefully
Yeah.
they won't be training their sites on your department as a massive rejection of environmental concerns.
Yeah, and the resiliency, continuity of operations. Dana mentioned the main heat plant fuel conversion, which was a long time coming, and getting UVA off of coal. The board approved that in June. That was last month, right? So that was this board approving that.
That was last year's board. It changed July 1st.
It changed July 1st. But there's still a lot
of same players.
There are a lot of the same players. Because there's continuity of operations and risk and cost savings. Coal is not as readily available or is not the cheapest option anymore. So for better or for worse, that's a positive, I think. The continuity of operations, resilience are important, I think, to a lot of people.
Peter, let's go to you. Question.
You don't have to respond to this, but let's hope that Ken Cuccinelli doesn't change any of the policies if he gets on the board. I guess I'm really impressed with all the work that you've been doing on buildings, and obviously, longstanding work on waste reduction. Really impressed with the work on the fleet, electrification of the fleet.
Thanks. That's such a good example of one where, like, our office can help connect, advise, support, celebrate, but like other people are doing that work and it's incredible. Like the people who've gone from like not knowing much about sustainability and becoming like experts and leaders. I'm glad you're excited for that, because we are too, and we're very grateful to them.
I mean, you mentioned one of your functions is academic support for, I assume, researchers working on sustainability related issues, energy related issues.
Yeah, more on so there's curriculum is sort of separate, research is sort of separate, but we do grounds engaged learning opportunities. So like, for example, right now this summer, we have a decarbonization academy where we pay students to work with a mentor, a faculty or staff mentor on a project that will help advance UVA sustainability goals. So they get paid, they get a lot of learning opportunities through tours and lectures, but they're also contributing to something that we can use. So that's more in our office. We do more of the.
Yeah, I guess I'm just more concerned about them. Go ahead.
Just because our office is part of the facilities department. So we can be that connector with research that's related to the facilities or teaching that can be related to the facilities. But yeah, there's other organizations that are kind of leading the teaching and research.
Yeah, I'm just concerned about, federal efforts to basically disappear data related to climate research in particular, but probably other environmental research. I guess the one concern I have that I want to express is, I think you talked about the goals for energy reduction, but how does, and you might consider it sort of an indirect energy utilization, but I'm thinking of Ravenna Futures and potential for data center, supply to that kind of project. And I know UVA has some connections to it through, the recent Institute on Defense Intelligence, basically. So is that a concern of yours in terms of how are you accounting for that energy?
You always ask the great questions. I'm always so impressed by the questions you ask. Yes, that's another huge topic area. So anything data center related on ground, we capture through our greenhouse gas footprint, but the cloud computing and beyond is something we're trying to get a better handle on for our scope 3 emissions. So we track scope 1 and 2 emissions, track things on grounds, but we're trying to better understand and calculate and then address what is the impact of a lot of things that are moving off grounds into the cloud, and the impacts of AI. So students ask us a lot about, I shouldn't say a lot, but increasingly often about the impacts of AI. Should I use ChatGPT? What's the water and waste or water and energy impact if I do that? And then faculty are starting to grapple with the increased needs around their research. So it's something that higher education in general has been starting to collectively talk about, particularly in terms of like, how do we quantify that? Like, how do we go to Google and ask them for our emissions related to that? But yeah, it's still very nascent, I think, in terms of understanding how we calculate that, capture that, and then address that, if that someone answers your question.
No, thank you very much for that thoughtful response.
Okay, I suspect we could go on for another half an hour, but maybe one final question and we're going to draw this to a close. Did you have a question, Madison?
Yeah.
Okay, let's make this the final one for UVA. Go ahead.
This is a quickie. Number one, I want to commend you for finally having the buses all electrified. But the thing that impresses me the most, I was a pharmacist at UVA pharmacy for 40 years. And, so I worked on the old side, as we used to say, and it was before 1989 when we moved to the new side. But at any rate, I took a picture with a camera, an actual camera, not a cell phone, of the black smoke billowing out of those stacks right there from the heating plant. And I said, "What's wrong with this picture? We're supposedly about health," and I'm just really excited to see that's finally being resolved. Good work.
Thank you so much. We are too. That's going to be huge for like such a number of reasons. Yeah, we talked about continuity of operations and other things, but also the human health impacts of getting coal out of that such a key corridor where it's a bad fit. Yeah. Well, thank you, Madison. I'll say we're on email. We have email addresses. If you have other questions, feel free to email us. A good one for general inquiries is just sustainability@virginia.edu. But then if you also have other topics that you just want to dive into more, we tried it. We hope our website is a good resource as well. So see if explore that some more. You guys are passionate people, and we appreciate you being passionate about what UVA is doing as well.
Okay, well, thanks both to Dana and Andrea for joining us this evening, and say hello to Calvin for us all, and
Will do.
enjoy him tonight and going
thank you.
forward.
All right, good to see you
We'll
all.
see you again in a few months for
Thank you.
another.
Sounds good.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.